Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. It's Brandon again with another weekly recap of my current training. Now, for those of you not aware, I'm actually getting ready to do another meet. Now, traditionally speaking, I would do a 9-week training cycle followed by a 3-week peaking cycle followed by a meet. But in this case, because I had my last meet not too long ago, I've actually found one that's fairly close to me. And you know how attracted I am to meets and or meet singular. I just had to go ahead and sign up again. So this bout of training has been a little bit condensed. So I did a 5-week training cycle and now I'm going to do a 3-week peaking prep, and I just finished my first week of that peaking. And this is always interesting to me. If you remember from my last training phase, this peaking cycle really kicked my ass and I was really down in the dumps. And as part of that too, I was also traveling. The upside of that is I got to train with Michael Corey and Ryan Padilla, so I did appreciate that. But traveling and having to do some really heavy work, some very high intensity work with things like deadlifts and squats and bench, it was definitely tiring for me. However, everything worked out in the end. I ended up setting some PRs at my meet. I hit all my goals, so that definitely got me through. And I thought this part of the peaking phase, the second time around, would be a little bit easier because I wasn't traveling, and plus I was a little bit used to how the process works. So I went in this with a very high head and some very specific goals in mind. And that really brings us to the first actual training day for squats. Now, on this day, you guys know that I'm a big fan of pre-workouts and Pop-Tarts and Monsters and candy and all that stuff, and normally that goes down really well. However, today, my friends, that was not the case. I felt awful. So imagine having to do some heavy squats. Here we're doing 4 sets of 3 at 500 pounds and pretty much having to run to the bathroom in between each and every set. So although these first sets, to me, they looked pretty high. Again, I think a lot of that has to do with the angle. I'm no deep squatter by any means, although I do like to go deep in other aspects of my life, or at least as deep as I can go, which I guess is also true for my squats. I felt like the first set or two, I was cutting it even higher than normal. I think part of this is my fear of going any deeper might result in a very bad time. Although I am an old man, I do not wear Depends just yet. On this particular day, it might have been a good investment. But as the day went on, I still felt pretty well as far as getting this 500 for 4 sets of 3. The last peaking phase, I only was able to do 495 for 4 sets of 3, so increasing that 5 pounds felt really good. I am proud of that. That's really getting me in some positive momentum going forward. One of the big things that I took away from this, and one of the things that I was really happy that I did, was film it from the side. So for this sideways view, you can actually see that my depth is a lot better. At least it looks well here. So the fact that when I do these diagonal views or behind views, which traditionally is known as the money shot, I'm not really too worried about how my depth looks because from an actual judge's standpoint from the side, it looks pretty good. One of the things I also want to mention is I partnered up with NASM, so the National Academy of Sports Medicine. They're offering a 14-day free trial of their online services. So if you're looking to become a certified personal trainer, make some money with your fitness enthusiasm, it's a great way to go, great certification to have. They even say that they'll give you your money back if you're unable to land a job within 60 days of completing their course. So in this case, I have a referral link in the description box below, which is awesome because I've never had one. What's not so awesome is it's not something that makes me money if you click on it or if you sign up through me. It's just so they can track where traffic comes from. So it's there. If you're interested, highly recommend it as it's a great certification to have. Now that brings us to the next peaking day, which is bench press day. So the way that the peaking works is I train on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. For this bench day, 4 sets of 3 paused at 315. And this was something that was really daunting to me because this is what was programmed on my last peaking phase. However, the problem is 315 felt way too heavy and I didn't think I could get 3 reps paused, let alone for 4 sets. So I ended up doing it with 305 and it went pretty well. On this particular day, really attacked 315 and I was really happy with the results. I think I probably could have paused a little bit longer, but I always think that. I don't think the pauses were any quicker than they've been in my normal training, but getting 315 for 4 sets of 3 paused, for me, 10 pounds in terms of a volume PR from the last peaking phase is really setting a good tone because bench is something that I've really struggled with, and that's to be expected as your pressing isn't going to progress as fast as, let's say, your deadlifts or squats your lower body when your numbers are that much higher. But looking at it from a percentage standpoint, I've been making some great progress, so really looking forward to this. Now, one of the things that I noticed, however, afterwards is my wrist was kind of feeling a little bit wonky. I don't know if that's because of my low bar squatting and the fact fact that I cranked my wrist back, or maybe I just wasn't getting a good grip on the bar on this particular day. It's something I'm gonna really keep in top of mind. I'm gonna try to take it easy on my wrist. Luckily for me, it's my left one and not my right one, if you know what I'm saying. But I just keep my eye on that just to make sure that things don't get worse. And then with the deload coming up in a couple of weeks and after the meet, I'll get some time to heal to make sure that I get back on track. So that brings us to our last day, which is deadlift day. And honestly, I felt the best about going into this day. Now, it called for 565 for 4 sets of 3, which was roughly 15 pounds heavier than what I did in the last peaking phase. However, deadlifts for me has been something that I've always been a little bit more confident in. I don't know if it's just because my bench has always sucked, and squats, I'm always kind of scared in the back of my mind that if I fail, I'm gonna staple myself. It's gonna be really embarrassing. But deadlifts, I've never really had that much difficulty in doing, and 565 for 4 sets of 3, at least in my mind, seemed like it would be pretty easy. Now on this particular day, there is some stuff that kind of played a role in my mindset. I had some work stuff to do and some other things came up where I couldn't go to the gym when I had initially planned, but still I had a lot of meals in me. I had my pre-workout, I had my candy in me, I was feeling pretty good going in, and I went to lift and it felt terrible. Things were just moving super slow in my mind. In fact, after my very first set, which unfortunately I forgot to film on, so you only get to see my second, third, and fourth set here, I literally thought about quitting. I thought, this is way too heavy, fuck this, I'm gonna ruin my back, I'm not gonna be able to continue the peaking phase, I'm gonna ruin my meet. I should either just drop the weight down significantly, or I should just skip this day and say, you know what, I'll get back to it next week. However, I didn't want to do that because, again, I thought back to my last peaking phase and how awful I felt about it, but I still got it done, and I really saw the benefits of that when I went to the meet. So that really kind of pushed me through. So I was able to get all 4 sets of 3 at 565, and although they felt really slow, and they were for the most part pretty slow, looking back here at the clips themselves, they moved more smoothly than I thought they would. So there wasn't any real sticking points, it just went slow as shit, but it still went up. And again, getting it up is a big win for me. Getting it in is another story. So 4 sets of 3 here. I, of course, with all these lifts on all days after those 4 sets of 3, which are roughly at 90% of my 1 rep max, I then dropped the weight to around 80%, in some cases 75%, and did another 4 sets of 3 to make sure I got some volume in. But I'm glad this peaking week is over. Next week, it's going to be a little bit worse. I'm only working up to a single heavy set of 3, but my goal is to beat all those numbers. So for squats, I think I'm gonna aim for 515. On bench, 320, 325-ish. On deadlifts, maybe 575, 585, probably 585. That way we can just get another big plate on there and I don't have to worry about it. But that's where we stand. So I appreciate you guys watching. As always, I usually say as always, thanks for watching, but I've already said I appreciate you watching. And that'd be a double negative. So I don't appreciate you watching. In the meantime, as always, stay big.